First contact. The warning klaxons aboard Celestial Harmony Station screamed to life, bathing the pristine white corridors in pulsating crimson light. Commander Xerix jerked upright in his command chair, his scaled skin flushing a deep azure with alarm as his four eyes darted to the main view screen. The voice was melodic yet authoritative, translated flawlessly by the station's communication systems. Nothing like the guttural roars Xerix had imagined from the supposedly savage species. Xerix straightened his posture. "This is Commander Xerix of Celestial Harmony, representing the Galactic Concordat. Your presence in this sector is unexpected, Captain. We have no record of human vessels venturing this far into Concordat space." The human's facial features arranged themselves into what Xerix recognized as a smile, though whether it signified friendliness or aggression, he couldn't be certain. "We're on an extended exploration and diplomatic mission, Commander," Captain Rice explained. "Earth is seeking to establish peaceful relations with neighboring civilizations. We detected your station and decided it was an opportunity for first contact." Security Chief Dravix moved to Xerix's side, speaking in a low voice. "Sir, I advise extreme caution. The humans may be using diplomacy as a pretext. Their vessel is clearly armed for combat." Xerix nodded slightly, but kept his focus on the human captain. "While we appreciate your diplomatic intentions, Captain Rice, your unannounced arrival has caused considerable concern. Your vessel appears to be heavily armed for a diplomatic mission." The human's expression shifted subtly. "The Dauntless is a multi-purpose exploration vessel, Commander. We're equipped for self-defense in unknown territory. Space is vast and not always friendly. I'm sure you understand the necessity." "Report," he demanded, his voice cutting through the chaos erupting around him. Lieutenant Vela's six-fingered hands flew across her console, her normally honey-colored scales now pale with tension. "Unknown vessel, Commander. It appeared at the edge of our detection grid without warning. No registered transponder signature in our database." "Show me," Xerix ordered, rising to his full 3-meter height. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a sleek, angular vessel against the backdrop of stars. Unlike the smooth, organic curves of Concordat ships, this vessel was all sharp angles and apparent weapon emplacements, its hull a matte black that seemed to devour light rather than reflect it. "Magnify," Xerix commanded, his inner eyelids narrowing to slits. The image zoomed in, revealing more details of the mysterious ship. It was smaller than Celestial Harmony, perhaps 1/3 the size, but something about its configuration made Xerix's dorsal spines stiffen with instinctive caution. "Energy readings?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the screen. Science Officer Kellix consulted his instruments, his facial tentacles writhing with concern. "Unprecedented, Commander. Their power core is... I don't even have a comparison model. It's at least 5 times more efficient than our most advanced designs. And those are definitely weapon systems, though unlike any we've cataloged." Xerix's second heart began beating faster, joining the rhythm of his primary. "Origin." A heavy silence fell over the command center before Lieutenant Vela spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "The configuration matches descriptions of human vessels, sir." The command center went completely still. Humans, the Death Worlders, the species that had reportedly fought and won wars that would have annihilated most civilized races, all before developing faster-than-light travel. Xerix had dismissed such tales as exaggerations, the kind of stories told to frighten younglings. "Full defensive protocols," Xerix ordered, his voice steady despite the ice forming in his blood. "Notify the Concordat High Command immediately. Move all non-essential personnel to secure areas." As his crew rushed to carry out his orders, Xerix studied the human vessel. It continued its approach at a measured pace, making no aggressive movements. Perhaps the stories were just that. Stories. "Sir," Communications Officer Nerith interrupted his thoughts, "we're receiving a transmission from the vessel. Audio and visual." Xerix hesitated for only a moment. On screen. The view screen shifted to display the interior of what appeared to be the human vessel's command center. Xerix blinked all four eyes in surprise at the creature that appeared before him. The human looked almost like a concordat species, bipedal, with two eyes and recognizable facial features. But the similarities ended there. Its skin was a peculiar shade of brown, with no scales or protective plates visible. A covering of dark hair topped its head, and it wore a crisp, dark uniform adorned with symbols Xerix couldn't interpret. Greetings, Celestial Harmony Station. I am Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth Naval Vessel Dauntless. We come in peace and request permission to establish diplomatic communications. The voice was melodic yet authoritative, translated flawlessly by the station's communication systems. Nothing like the guttural roar Xerix had imagined from the supposedly savage species. Xerix straightened his posture. This is Commander Xerix of Celestial Harmony, representing the Galactic Concordat. Your presence in this sector is unexpected, Captain. We have no record of human vessels venturing this far into Concordat space. The human's facial features arranged themselves into what Xerix recognized as a smile, though whether it signified friendliness or aggression, he couldn't be certain. We're on an extended exploration and diplomatic mission, Commander, Captain Rice explained. Earth is seeking to establish peaceful relations with neighboring civilizations. We detected your station and decided it was an opportunity for first contact. Security Chief Dravix moved to Xerix's side, speaking in a low voice. Sir, I advise extreme caution. The humans may be using diplomacy as a pretext. Their vessel is clearly armed for combat. Xerix nodded slightly but kept his focus on the human captain. While we appreciate your diplomatic intentions, Captain Rice, your unannounced arrival has caused considerable concern. Your vessel appears to be heavily armed for a diplomatic mission. The human's expression shifted subtly. The Dauntless is a multi-purpose exploration vessel, Commander. We're equipped for self-defense in unknown territory. Space is vast and not always friendly. I'm sure you understand the necessity. Xerix did understand, but the explanation did little to ease his concerns. Perhaps. However, protocol dictates that we cannot permit unknown military vessels to approach without proper authorization from Concordat Command. The human captain seemed to consider this. Of course, we're happy to maintain our position while you consult with your superiors. We can transmit our credentials and mission parameters to facilitate the process. As Nerith prepared to receive the transmission, Junior Communications Officer Terry, newly assigned to the station just 2 cycles ago, approached Xerix's chair. Commander, Terry said softly, if I may speak. Xerix noted the lack of fear markings on the young officer's neck scales. Proceed. Perhaps we're being overly cautious, sir. If the humans intended hostilities, they could have approached with stealth or immediately opened fire. Instead, they're openly communicating and respecting our boundaries. First contact protocol suggests. I'm familiar with protocol, officer, Xerix interrupted, though not unkindly. But protocol was written for known quantities. Humans are unpredictable. All the more reason to engage diplomatically, Thierry persisted quietly. We have an opportunity to learn truth from speculation. Xerix studied the young officer. There was wisdom in those words, despite Thierry's inexperience. He turned back to the screen. Captain Rice, we will review your credentials while awaiting authorization from Concordat Command. In the meantime, maintain your position at the outer marker. Understood, Commander. Wheel. Captain Rice was suddenly interrupted by someone off-screen. Her expression transformed instantly, all diplomatic pleasantness replaced by sharp alertness. Commander Xerix, our sensors are detecting multiple ships dropping out of FTL behind your station. They're not broadcasting identification and are powering weapon systems. Before Xerix could respond, the station rocked violently as an explosion shook its outer hull. Emergency alerts blared throughout the command center. Multiple vessels, sir. Lieutenant Vela called out, her voice tight with urgency. 7. No, 8 ships. Energy signatures match known Scythe Syndicate vessels. Xerxes' blood ran cold. The Scythe Syndicate, ruthless pirates and slavers who preyed on isolated outposts throughout the galaxy. Their ships weren't as technologically advanced as conquerors vessels, but they made up for it with numbers and brutality. Shields to maximum. Alert all security teams. Contact Concordat Defense Force for immediate assistance. Xerxes ordered rapidly, watching in dismay as the tactical display showed the pirates surrounding the station. Another hit rocked the station, harder this time. Shields at 82% and falling, reported the defense officer. They're targeting our communication array. On the view screen, Captain Rise was issuing orders to her own crew. She turned back to Xerxes. Commander, permission to approach and render assistance. Security Chief Dravix hissed. It's a trap. The humans must be working with the pirates. Xerxes considered the tactical situation rapidly. The station's defenses were designed to withstand meteoroid impacts and minor skirmishes, not a concentrated attack by multiple hostile vessels. The nearest Concordat military vessel was at least 2 days away at maximum speed. If the humans were allied with the pirates, they were already doomed. If not, Captain Reyes, Xerxes said, making his decision. We are under attack by a pirate syndicate known for their brutality. Your offer of assistance is appreciated, but your single vessel against 8 pirate ships would be uneven odds. Reyes interrupted, a strange expression crossing her face that Xerxes couldn't interpret. For the pirates, Commander, please focus on protecting your civilians. The Dauntless will handle the syndicate vessels. Before Xerxes could respond, the human ship accelerated toward the pirate fleet, its engines flaring brilliantly against the void. They're insane, whispered Dravix. 1 ship against 8. Sir, Lieutenant Vela called out, eyes wide. The human vessel, its changing configuration. On the tactical display, the Dauntless was indeed transforming. Panels along its hull shifted, revealing previously concealed weapon systems that glowed with barely contained energy. Its power signature tripled in seconds. Those weren't on our initial scans, Kellex muttered. Their stealth technology must be decades beyond ours. The pirate ships noticed the approaching human vessel and adjusted their formation, 2 breaking off to intercept while the others continued their assault on the station. Energy weapons lanced toward the Dauntless, which responded with maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, rolling and pivoting with impossible precision. Not a single pirate shot found its mark. That's not possible, Dravix breathed. No ship can move like that. The station shuddered again as another barrage from the pirates struck home. Shields at 64%, reported the defense officer. They're trying to target our habitat ring. All eyes were drawn to the tactical display as the human ship engaged the first pirate vessel. Instead of the expected energy weapons, a brilliant pulse erupted from the Dauntless, engulfing the pirate ship. When it faded, the hostile vessel drifted powerless, its systems apparently completely disabled. What did they just do? Xerxes demanded. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon. Kellex responded, his tentacles writhing with excitement despite the danger, but focused and controlled in a way I've never seen. The second pirate ship attempted to flee, but the Dauntless was faster, dispatching it with the same devastating efficiency. On the main view screen, the remaining pirate vessels began to break formation, their coordinated attack faltering as they witnessed the fate of their companions. They're targeting the human ship now, Vela reported, as multiple energy beams converged on the Dauntless. This time, several hits connected, but instead of exploding, the human vessel's hull seemed to absorb and dissipate the energy in rippling patterns. Some form of advanced shielding, Kellex noted. They're not even showing damage. The Dauntless retaliated, disabling a third pirate ship with pinpoint accuracy, then a fourth. The remaining pirates attempted to retreat, but the human vessel moved with uncanny precision, cutting off their escape routes and methodically neutralizing each one. In the command center, the conquerors crew watched in stunned silence as 7 humans in a single vessel systematically dismantled a pirate fleet that would have overwhelmed even a squadron of conquerors military ships. The entire engagement lasted less than 15 minutes. All hostile vessels neutralized, Commander Vela reported, her voice tinged with awe. The human ship is hailing us again. On screen, Xerix ordered, his mind still struggling to process what he had just witnessed. Captain Rice appeared, looking remarkably calm despite the battle she had just fought. Commander Xerix, the threat has been contained. The pirate vessels have been disabled rather than destroyed. Their crews are alive but confined to their ships with emergency life support only. We thought you might want to handle their disposition according to conquerors law. Xerix found his voice. Captain Rice, we are in your debt. You risked your vessel and crew for a station of strangers. The human smiled, a gesture Xerix was beginning to interpret as genuine. That's what neighbors do, Commander. Now about those diplomatic discussions, perhaps we could continue them over a meal. My crew and I would be honored to accept your hospitality, and we have much to discuss. Security Chief Dravix made a small sound of protest, but Xerix silenced him with a gesture. The humans had just saved celestial harmony and everyone aboard. The least he could do was offer them dinner. We would be honored, Captain. I'll prepare a reception worthy of our new friends. As the communication ended, Junior Officer Tiri approached again. Sir, it seems the stories about humans were true after all. Xerix watched as the Dauntless gracefully maneuvered toward the station's docking bay, its weapon systems once again concealed behind seamless hull plating. No, Tiri, he replied thoughtfully. I suspect the stories didn't tell even half the truth. Trial by fire. The grand reception hall aboard Celestial Harmony had never hosted such an unusual gathering. Commander Xerix stood at the entrance, watching as his crew cautiously mingled with the human visitors. Captain Rice and her 6 officers were scattered throughout the room, engaged in conversations with various station personnel. Despite the lingering tension, curiosity was gradually overcoming fear. They look almost like us, yet so different, murmured Science Officer Kellix, who had positioned himself near Xerix. No natural defenses, no scales, claws, or venom sacs. How did such vulnerable creatures become so formidable? Xerix observed Captain Rice, who was speaking animatedly with Junior Officer Terry. Perhaps their vulnerability was precisely what drove them to excellence. When you cannot rely on natural gifts, you must create your own advantages. Across the room, Security Chief Dravix hovered near a tall human male who had introduced himself as Lieutenant Commander Jack Morrison, the Dauntless's tactical officer. Despite Dravix's obvious suspicion, the human appeared completely at ease, sipping a cup of synthesized water and discussing the station's security protocols as if they were old colleagues. Your shield harmonics are actually quite innovative, Morrison was saying. With a few adjustments to the resonance patterns, you could increase efficiency by 20%. Dravix's neck scales rippled with skepticism. And you determined this after a single scan. Morrison smiled. I've always had a knack for defensive systems. It's something of a hobby. Before Dravix could respond, the station's medical officer, Dr. Nilara, approached with the human ship's physician, Dr. Sarah Chen. Dr. Chen was the smallest of the humans, but her presence carried an authority that even Xerix had noticed immediately. Commander, Dr. Nilara said, her voice vibrating with barely contained excitement. Dr. Chen has been explaining human medical capabilities. They're extraordinary, particularly their regenerative treatments. We've had to become quite good at patching ourselves up, Dr. Chen explained modestly. When your homeworld contains everything from Arctic tundra to scorching deserts, with thousands of potential pathogens, medical innovation becomes a necessity rather than a luxury. Xerix found himself genuinely intrigued. Your species evolved on a single world with such environmental extremes. Earth is diverse, Captain Rice said, joining their conversation. We like to think it prepared us well for the greater diversity of space. Lieutenant Vela, who had been analyzing data from the recent battle, approached the group with a puzzled expression. Captain Rice, I've been reviewing our sensor logs from the engagement with the pirate vessels. Your ship's maneuvering capabilities exceed what should be physically possible given the mass readings we detected. Rice exchanged a glance with Morrison before responding. The Dauntless utilizes a gravity manipulation system that effectively reduces our inertial mass during combat maneuvers. Gravity manipulation. Kellick's facial tentacles writhed with excitement, but the energy requirements would be substantial, Morrison finished, which is why our power generation systems are somewhat advanced. The casual understatement wasn't lost on Xerix. From what he had seen, human technology wasn't somewhat advanced. It was generations beyond anything in the Concordat. This realization should have been terrifying. But instead, Xerix found himself grateful that such power belonged to a species that had chosen to defend rather than conquer. The moment was interrupted by a station-wide announcement. Commander Xerix to Communications Center. Priority message from Concordat High Command. Xerix excused himself and made his way to the Communications Center, where a holographic projection of High Counselor Telvax awaited. The elderly Concordat leader's translucent scales shimmered with agitation. Commander, we've received your report about the human vessel and the pirate attack. Is this information accurate? A single ship defeated 8 syndicate vessels. Yes, Counselor. I witnessed it myself. Their technology is remarkable. Telvax's inner eyelids narrowed. And you've allowed them aboard the station. Commander, until we know their intentions. With respect, Counselor, they saved celestial harmony and everyone aboard. Their actions speak louder than our fears. The High Counselor's expression remained troubled. Perhaps, but proceed with caution, Commander. We're dispatching a diplomatic delegation to your location. Until they arrive, learn what you can about these humans, particularly their military capabilities and intentions toward Concordat space. Understood, Counselor. Though I believe their intentions are genuinely peaceful. After the communication ended, Xerix returned to the reception to find an unexpected scene. Lieutenant Commander Morrison and Science Officer Kellick were huddled over a holographic display of the station's shield system, engaged in an animated technical discussion. Several other humans and Concordat engineers had joined them, offering suggestions and asking questions. What's happening here? Xerix asked Vela, who was observing from nearby. The humans are helping us improve our defensive systems, she explained, her voice tinged with disbelief. Morrison identified several vulnerabilities in our shield configuration that the pirates exploited. They're showing us how to correct them. Xerix approached the group, catching Morrison's explanation mid-sentence. By recalibrating the emitter arrays to create overlapping fields rather than a single continuous bubble, it requires more computational power but creates redundancy. If one section fails, the others compensate automatically. But our power systems can't sustain that kind of load, protested one of the Concordat engineers. Dr. Chen, who had joined the technical discussion, smiled. That's where we might be able to help. Our compact fusion reactors could be adapted to your systems with some modifications. Xerix could hardly believe what he was hearing. You're offering us your technology. Captain Rice had materialized at his side. Basic defensive technology, yes. Every species has the right to protect themselves from threats like the Syndicate. This isn't about giving you military advantages, Commander. It's about helping you protect your people. That's remarkably generous, Xerix said carefully. Rice shrugged. Humans have a saying. A rising tide lifts all boats. Peace and stability benefit everyone. Before Xerix could respond, the station rocked violently. Warning klaxons blared once again, and emergency lighting activated throughout the reception hall. Report, Xerix commanded, tapping his communication implant. Massive energy surged from the disabled pirate vessels. Commander, came the urgent reply. They've activated some kind of self-destruct sequence. Another explosion shook the station, harder this time. Captain Reyes was already moving, her crew falling in behind her without a word being spoken. "Get me to your engineering section," she said to Xerix, all diplomatic pleasantries gone. "Those explosions will have damaged your structural integrity fields." Xerix hesitated only a moment before nodding. "This way." As they rushed through the corridors, the damage became increasingly apparent. Support beams had buckled, and emergency force fields flickered as they struggled to contain hull breaches. Engineers and damage control teams worked frantically to stabilize critical systems. In the main engineering section, chaos reigned. Chief Engineer Morax was shouting orders as his team fought to prevent a cascade failure in the station's power grid. "The primary coolant system is ruptured," Morax reported as Xerix approached. "If we can't stabilize it, we'll have to shut down the main reactor." "And lose life support," Xerix finished grimly. Morrison stepped forward, studying the engineering displays. "Your secondary systems can handle the load temporarily, but you need to reroute power through the tertiary conduits to bypass the damaged sections." Morax's neck spines flared with frustration. The tertiary system wasn't designed for that kind of load. "It can handle it if you modify the flow regulators," Morrison insisted. "I can show you how." After a moment's hesitation, Morax nodded. "Do it." As Morrison and the engineering team worked on the power systems, Captain Reyes turned to Xerix. "Commander, with your permission, I'd like to bring some of our equipment from the Dauntless. We have portable power generators and advanced repair technology that could help." Of course, Xerix agreed immediately. The situation was too dire for protocol or suspicion. While they waited for the human equipment to arrive, Dr. Chen approached Xerix with concern etched on her features. "Commander, we detected radiation leakage in the habitat section. Your people may need medical attention." Xerix's heart sank. Concordat physiology was particularly vulnerable to certain types of radiation. "Our medical facilities will be overwhelmed." "Our sickbay is equipped to handle radiation exposure," Dr. Chen offered. "We can treat your affected crew members." "Thank you," Xerix said, realizing how quickly he had come to trust these aliens who, just hours ago, had been potential enemies. Over the next several hours, humans and Concordat crew worked side by side to stabilize the damaged station. The human equipment proved invaluable. Portable generators restored power to critical systems, while specialized repair drones sealed hull breaches faster than conventional methods. In the medical bay, Dr. Chen and her team treated radiation exposure with treatments that Concordat medicine hadn't even conceived of. By the time the crisis was contained, exhaustion had set in for both species. Xerix found Captain Reyes in the observation lounge, staring out at the debris field where the pirate ships had been. The Syndicate captains activated their self-destruct systems rather than face Concordat justice, Xerix said, joining her at the viewport. "It's happened before, but never with such coordination. They were willing to die just to damage this station." Reyes's expression was troubled. This wasn't just about avoiding capture. The timing, the specific targets they hit during the initial attack, this was planned. "You believe the attack was specifically aimed at celestial harmony. We're just a research and diplomatic outpost, which makes you a perfect target if someone wanted to disrupt Concordat operations in this sector," Reyes pointed out. "Commander, during the battle, we scanned the pirate vessels thoroughly. Several of their weapons and systems had manufacturing signatures that didn't match known Syndicate suppliers." Xerix felt a chill run down his spine. "You're suggesting they had outside support. I'm suggesting this might not be an isolated incident." Reyes turned from the viewport. "With your permission, I'd like to share our scan data with your intelligence analysts." "Of course," Xerix agreed, his mind racing with implications. "Captain, I must ask, why are you helping us to this extent? Your mission was exploration and diplomacy, yet you've risked your vessel and crew repeatedly for us." Reyes's expression softened slightly. "Humanity spent centuries fighting among ourselves before we reached the stars. Commander, we learned the hard way that division leads to destruction. When we finally achieved unity and looked to the cosmos, we made a promise. We would be the allies we wished we had during our darkest hours. The sincerity in her voice was unmistakable, and Xerix found himself believing her completely. Their conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Vela, who approached with urgent steps. "Commander, Captain, we're receiving distress signals from the Nerixal colony. They're under attack by what appears to be a major syndicate fleet, at least 20 vessels." Xerix felt his blood run cold. Nerixal. There are over 10,000 civilians there, and their defensive capabilities are minimal. "How far?" Rise asked sharply. "Approximately 6 light hours from our position," Vela reported. "The nearest conquerors military vessel is at least 20 hours away." Rise and Xerix exchanged looks, a silent understanding passing between them. "The Dauntless can be ready to depart in 30 minutes, Rise said quietly. Xerix blinked in surprise. "Captain, you can't be serious. Even with your vessel's capabilities, 20 syndicate ships is an overwhelming force." "For a single ship, perhaps," Rise agreed. "But we won't be going alone." Before Xerix could question her meaning, Lieutenant Commander Morrison approached with a datapad. "Captain, we've analyzed the attack pattern at Nerixal. It's consistent with a full-scale raiding operation. They're not just attacking. They're planning to loot the colony and take prisoners." Colonial administration managed to activate emergency shelters before communications were cut, but approximately 30% of the population remains exposed. The syndicate forces are methodically breaching the shelters. Xerix felt his secondary heart flutter with anxiety. 10,000 civilians, many of them still unprotected, with pirate forces closing in, and the nearest conquerors military vessels still hours away. "Admiral, time is critical," he interjected. "If the syndicate follows their usual patterns, they'll begin loading captives onto their ships within hours." Admiral Chen nodded grimly. "Precisely why we're not waiting for conquerors reinforcements, Commander. The fleet will depart in 30 minutes. Captain Rice, the Dauntless will leave the advance force. Your familiarity with conquerors physiology may be crucial for the evacuation of wounded civilians." "Understood, Admiral," Rise acknowledged. "The Celestial Harmony medical team has provided us with comprehensive data on conquerors medical treatment protocols." Chen's attention shifted to Xerix. "Commander, your knowledge of the colony layout and conquerors emergency procedures will be invaluable. Are you prepared to accompany the mission?" Xerix straightened to his full height. "Of course, Admiral. Nerixal is under conquerors protection. I would be failing in my duty if I did not participate in its defense." "As would I," Dravix added, surprising everyone with his vehemence. The security chief had been the most suspicious of the humans initially, but witnessing their